They said she wasn't ready for this. They said Skye Blue was too soft, too sweet, too nice for the brutal, unforgiving world of hardcore wrestling. They looked at her smile, her charisma, her fan-favorite glow, and they thought she'd break the moment things got real. They were wrong, dead. Wrong, asterisk asterisk, because what we witnessed wasn't just a match. It wasn't just another Wednesday night on Dynamite. What we saw was a transformation, a metamorphosis, a young woman stepping through fire and emerging as something entirely different. Something dangerous. Something unstoppable. This is the story of how Skye Blue went from beloved underdog to absolute warrior. This is the story of violence, vengeance, and a woman who refused to be another cautionary tale in a business that chews people up and spits them out without a second thought. This is the story of blood, steel, and pure, unfiltered chaos. And if you think you know how this ends, you don't. Let's rewind. Let's go back to where this all started, because every great war has an origin story, and Skye Blue's descent into darkness didn't happen overnight. 4 months, Skye had been fighting an uphill battle in AEW's women's division. She'd been putting in the work, paying her dues, showing up night after night with that infectious energy that made fans gravitate toward her. She was the girl next door with a fighter's heart, the underdog who never gave up, the kind of wrestler that parents point to and tell their kids, "See? That's what passion looks like." But here's the brutal truth about professional wrestling and about life, really. Passion doesn't always protect you, heart doesn't always save you when the wolves start circling. And in AEW, the wolves were always circling, always watching, always waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Skye had been climbing. Slowly but surely, she'd been building momentum. Wins were starting to stack up. The crowd was getting louder every time her music hit. She was on the verge of breaking through, really breaking through into that upper echelon of the women's division. She was this close to proving every doubter wrong. And that's exactly when they came for her. Question for you: when someone's rising in wrestling, do you think the locker room cheers them on, or plots their downfall? Drop your honest take below. The attack came out of nowhere. Backstage. After a grueling match where Skye had left everything in the ring, she was exhausted, vulnerable, just trying to catch her breath and make it back to the locker room in one piece. That's when they ambushed her. And we're not talking about a little shove or some trash talk. We're talking about a calculated, vicious, absolutely brutal beatdown designed to send a message. Designed to break her. Designed to make her think twice about ever stepping foot in an AEW ring again. They threw her into production crates, slammed her against concrete walls, dragged her through the backstage area like she was nothing, like she didn't matter. Like all those months of hard work, all those nights of proving herself, all that heart she'd poured into this company meant absolutely nothing. The cameras caught some of it. The referees and officials rushed in to break it up. But the damage was done. Skye Blue lay there in a crumpled heap, barely conscious, as her attackers stood over her with cold, satisfied smiles. They'd made their statement. They'd drawn their line in the sand. And that line was written in Skye's blood. Here's what the critics said would happen next: Skye would take time off. She'd recover. Maybe she'd come back months later with a cautious, careful approach. Maybe she'd ask management for protection. Maybe she'd play it safe. Here's what actually happened. Skye Blue showed up the very next week. Not fully healed. Not at 100%. But with something burning in her eyes that hadn't been there before. Something dark. Something dangerous. Something that screamed, "You wanted a war? You got one, Let me paint you a picture of what Skye Blue looked like in the weeks following that attack. Gone was the bright-eyed optimist who high-fived fans on her way to the ring. Gone was the wrestler who relied purely on technical skill and athleticism to win her matches. In their place stood someone who'd seen the darkness of this business up close and decided to meet it head-on. She started training differently. Harder. More intense. She wasn't just practicing wrestling moves anymore, she was preparing for war. She was learning how to absorb punishment. How to deliver it. How to survive when the rules went out the window and it became about pure will. She stopped smiling during her entrances. Stopped playing to the crowd. Every ounce of her energy was focused on one singular goal: payback. The wrestling world started to notice. Social media erupted with speculation. Was this the same Skye Blue? What had they done to her? And more importantly, what was she planning to do to them? Tony Khan, AEW's president, saw the fire. He saw the story writing itself in real time, and he made a decision that would change everything. He sanctioned the match. But not just any match. Oh no. That would be too simple. Too clean. Too safe. Tony Khan sanctioned a no disqualification, falls count anywhere, anything goes street fight. Translation? All the rules that normally protect wrestlers? Gone. The boundaries that usually keep things from getting too out of control? Shattered. The safety nets? Removed. This was going to be pure, unfiltered violence. This was going to be a war zone. And Skye Blue had requested it specifically. Quick question, do you think Skye was crazy for asking for this kind of match, or was it the only way to truly settle things? Let me know below. The build up to this match was electric. Every week on Dynamite and Collision, tensions escalated. Backstage confrontations turned into brawls that security could barely contain. Promos were cut with a level of intensity that made even veteran wrestlers take notice. Skye's opponents, and let's be real, they weren't just opponents anymore, they were enemies, tried to play mind games. They tried to get under her skin. They mocked her transformation, called it desperation, said she was trying to be something she wasn't. But here's what they didn't understand. Skye wasn't trying to be something she wasn't. She was becoming exactly who she needed to be to survive in this business. She was evolving, adapting, refusing to be a victim. And when someone refuses to be a victim, when they channel all that pain and humiliation into focused rage, that's when they become truly dangerous. The night of the match arrived with an atmosphere that felt apocalyptic. The arena was buzzing with an energy that you could physically feel. Fans had brought signs. Chants were already starting before anyone even walked out. This wasn't just another match on the card, this was the match. The one everyone was talking about. The one that could potentially steal the show and become an instant classic, or a complete disaster. In wrestling, these kinds of matches can go either way. They can be career-defining moments of brilliance, or they can be train wrecks that everyone wants to forget. There's no middle ground. No safety net. You either rise to the occasion, or you crash and burn in front of millions. The crowd fell silent as Skye Blue's music hit. And what walked out from behind that curtain, it wasn't the same woman who'd been attacked weeks ago. Let me describe this entrance because it was everything. Skye Blue emerged through the smoke and lights, but there was no pageantry, no theatrics, just cold, calculating focus. She wore gear that looked battle-ready, darker colors, more aggressive styling, war paint under her eyes, her hair tied back tight. This wasn't someone coming to put on a wrestling performance. This was someone coming to hurt people. The crowd erupted, not with their usual cheers, but with something different, something that acknowledged what they were about to witness. A mix of excitement and genuine concern. They wanted to see Skye get her revenge, but they also understood that what was about to happen was going to be hard to watch. She walked to the ring like a soldier marching into battle, every step deliberate, every breath controlled. Her eyes never left the ring, never acknowledged the crowd, never wavered for even a second. When she reached the ring, she didn't slide in gracefully like she used to. She climbed the steps slowly, almost ceremoniously, and stepped through the ropes with the confidence of someone who had already won this fight in their mind 1,000 times. And then her opponent's music hit. They came out talking trash, playing to the crowd, acting like this was just another day at the office. But if you watched closely and the cameras caught this perfectly, there was something in their body language that betrayed them. A slight hesitation, a flicker of doubt, because they could see it too. They could see that the woman waiting for them in that ring wasn't the same person they'd attacked. They'd created a monster, and now they had to face it. Be brutally honest with me, if you were in Skye's position, would you have come back for revenge, or walked away from wrestling entirely? Comments below. The bell rang, and all hell broke loose immediately. Skye didn't wait for them to get in the ring. She didn't wait for any traditional opening sequence or feeling out process. The second that bell sounded, she launched herself over the top rope with a suicide dive that crashed into her opponents like a missile. Bodies scattered. The crowd exploded. And the match officially descended into chaos. What followed was 27 minutes of absolute carnage. 27 minutes that felt like both an eternity and the blink of an eye. 27 minutes that will be remembered, debated, and replayed for years to come. 27 minutes that proved beyond any shadow of doubt that Skye Blue belonged in the conversation when people talk about the toughest, most fearless performers in professional wrestling. Let me break down some of the highlights, and when I say highlights, I mean moments that made the entire arena gasp, made social media explode, and made even hardened wrestling veterans watching backstage shake their heads in disbelief. Steel chairs were introduced within the first 3 minutes, not just used, but weaponized. Skye took a chair shot to the back that echoed through the arena like a gunshot. The sound alone made people wince. But she didn't stay down. She got up, grabbed her own chair, and the duel that followed was something straight out of a gladiator arena. The fight spilled into the crowd. Security tried to create space, but there was no containing this. Skye and her opponents brawled through the stands, using the arena itself as a weapon. Railings, stairs, concrete floors, everything became fair game. Fans were on their feet, phones out, capturing every second of this brutal odyssey through the building. Tables were introduced around the 10-minute mark, not one table, not two. We're talking about a stack of tables set up at ringside that everyone knew was going to come into play eventually. The question wasn't if someone was going through them, it was who and when and how devastating it would be. Skye took a powerbomb through a table that folded her in half. The impact was sickening. The crowd thought it was over. Her opponents thought it was over. They went for the cover, confident they'd finally put her away. She kicked out at 2, the arena absolutely lost its mind. Here's what you need to understand about moments like that kick out. That wasn't just a wrestling spot. That wasn't just a near fall designed to pop the crowd. That was a statement. That was Skye Blue telling everyone watching in the arena, in the back, watching at home, that she wasn't going to be broken. That she'd been through the worst they could throw at her backstage, and this match was her redemption, her resurrection. You could see it in her opponents' faces. The confidence drained away. The reality set in. They'd awakened something they couldn't control. The match escalated even further. Kendo sticks were introduced. The sick crack of wood against flesh echoed throughout the arena. Bodies were covered in welts and bruises. The referee, who could do nothing in a no DQ match except count pinfalls, looked like he wanted to stop it but knew he couldn't. Around the 15-minute mark, they fought up the entrance ramp. This is where things got truly terrifying because everyone knew there was production equipment back there. Heavy cases, steel structures, concrete floors with no give whatsoever. Skye was thrown into a production box with such force that it dented. She crumpled to the ground, and for a moment, just a moment, it looked like her body had finally given out. Like she'd pushed herself past the point of no return. Her opponents celebrated prematurely, playing to the crowd, soaking in what they thought was victory. That was their fatal mistake, because when they turned around to drag Skye back to the ring for the pin, she was already moving, already getting to her feet, with a look in her eyes that can only be described as primal rage. What happened next happened so fast that even the commentators struggled to call it coherently. Skye exploded with a flurry of offense that came from somewhere beyond physical strength. This was pure adrenaline, pure will.